This is a book review for community colleges and the Access Effect: Why Open Admissions Suppresses Achievement, written by Julia Liljedahl-Scheer and Mira Lee Anson. Julia Liljedahl-Scheer is a professor of English at St. Louis Community College. She's also president of the Midwest Regional Association for Developmental Education. Mira Lee Anson is director of Upward Bound at the University of Iowa. She's also a former director of developmental education at Missouri State and has been a former developmental writing teacher at numerous community colleges. Historically, community colleges have been open access, open to everyone. The authors, however, believe that community colleges would better serve students if they impose modest standards of admission, and that's really the central purpose in writing the book. This quotation by the authors really characterizes their primary purpose. Allowing everyone access to a pathway that leads to great opportunities, but is too difficult for many to traverse, is not really granting access at all, but perpetuating a cruel hoax. So what is the author's reasoning for writing this text? Well, the authors believe that community colleges that admit students with little chance to succeed is a failure on many levels. First of all, it provides false hope to students. It makes them believe that they can accomplish things that perhaps are maybe beyond their ability to attain. They also believe that it discourages hard work by K-12 students. They believe it diverts college dollars and resources away from serving the students who can succeed, and they believe that it's a waste of taxpayer dollars that could be better invested in ways to improve the economy. The authors also offer some startling statistics against open access. First and foremost is the idea that approximately 60% of all new community college students require remediation by way of developmental courses. A Texas Commission on Higher Education also found that despite remediation efforts, only 3 out of 10 students who entered that state's community colleges deficient in math completed any college-level math within 4 years of enrollment. And in the end, very few students who test in developmental coursework ever get out of the developmental sequence. But the authors believe that public perception is something else. America still largely views community colleges as an institution for everyone. A prime example of this is Pima Community College. In 2011, Pima Community College in Arizona adopted an admissions requirement to access federal student aid for developmental education. As a result of this, Pima eliminated the lowest courses in their developmental sequence, limited access to the remaining developmental courses to those who tested in them by way of testing with at least a 7th grade education in reading and math, and then created a non-credit program called Pathways to Pima to replace the lowest levels of developmental coursework. Pathways to Pima was a non-FSA eligible program, and as a result, students had to self-fund at the rate of approximately $33 per 10-week course. Ultimately, Pima's administrators wanted to achieve the following. They wanted to achieve a more conscientious reservation of financial aid for adequately prepared students. They also wanted to more effectively address the developmental needs of students who are unable to succeed in their developmental sequence. Instead, though, Pima was met with widespread public backlash, and in 2012 was placed on probation by the Higher Learning Commission, threatening their accreditation. The authors of this text indicate that this Higher Learning Commission action will likely discourage community college administrators from taking bold steps to increase standards and student expectations, which will perpetuate the right to fail culture. The book also delves into some other factors that limit colleges' ability to control access and to improve student success. First among these factors discussed in the text is the completion agenda, which is really the idea of completion at all costs. This is an agenda that is supported by some big-name politicians such as President Obama and many large and wealthy foundations such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ultimately, the completion agenda casts developmental education as a dysfunctional impediment to student success and completion. There's also the issue of performance funding, which are often supported by the completion agenda. Performance funding is simply the idea of using performance indicators to allocate monies to colleges. So only colleges that reach these performance indicators would then get money. And the concern with that is obviously going to be the idea that standards will be decreased. There are also factors relating to decreasing revenues from both lower enrollment and from lower funding sources. and then topping things off, the idea of the national and student debt, both of which are ballooning out of control. And the authors see other complicating factors. In fact, they believe that community colleges' open access policy not only lowers standards at the college level, but also at the high school level, where students who intend to go to college have less reason to work hard and take initiative during their junior and senior years. After all, they can just slide through and still get into the local community college. As a result, the authors offer this quotation, which they believe is indicative of what's happening in our high schools. America currently has a fleet of idle, could-have-been engineers, scientists, and medical doctors consigned to jobs far below their intellectual capabilities, solely because their K-12 years were spent unproductively, which left them wholly unprepared to take advantage of higher education. The cure to cancer has walked among us, but she went uneducated in Minnesota. A clean energy solution that would change the world sits unmotivated in the back row in a rural South Dakota high school. He will enroll at a community college but never complete a credential for lack of adequate preparation. Our finest political leader, the one who would lead America commendably, is not being challenged in his California middle school. He would respond to the call, but his community asks nothing of him. He is far too young to see what is possible, and to know that he should challenge himself more than the adults around him will challenge him. He will not be prepared for college when the time comes, and the nation will never know his name or his gifts. These are the stories that the authors worry is happening everywhere because of open access policies at community colleges. So what then are the authors' solutions to this issue? Well, first and foremost, they want to raise the bar of achievement and access at community colleges, and they have four primary methods of doing this. First, they want to enforce existing federal student aid eligibility policies, many of which are currently overlooked by colleges. Second, they think we should institute modest minimum admission standards, which will then have a ripple effect down to K-12 education. Third, they would like to provide free or low-cost preparatory training for individuals who do not test into or meet the minimum standards but still want to attend college. And fourth, they think we should provide other meaningful employment training alternatives and avenues for individuals who don't qualify for college but still would like to get training and be able to enter the workforce. So when we look at the text as a whole then, the author's bottom line is simply this: learning comes before completion. And that is shared by Sandy Shugart, president of Valencia College. And ultimately the authors believe that America must restore its culture of learning. That culture of learning has been slowly eroding since peaking in the 1960s, and each new technological advancement, each new worldly distraction chips away at the edifice of American education. In the end, we need to get our citizens, and particularly our students, to treasure every learning opportunity. And the authors offer this quotation as example. From every position of societal influence that is yours, as a parent, grandparent, aunt or uncle, educator, legislator, and or policymaker, let your every thought, word, and deed honor education to the practical and estimable ends of enlightenment and societal advancement. Above all, model lifelong learning for the children so that they will grow to fulfill their greatest purpose. So then the question becomes, is the text applicable, and is it recommended? Given the growing push for completion and student success metrics in America, this text has a place in the body of academic literature relating to higher education and student success. Community college administrators, faculty, staff, and lobbyists should study this text and can benefit from studying the ideas in it and taking some of Scheer and Anson's suggestions, particularly those in regards to how we approach developmental education and in the need to provide alternative pathways beyond those leading to a degree. For these community college staff members, I would certainly recommend the text. The text is also applicable in that it connects to many other works that we've read throughout this course, particularly those relating to our earlier study of developmental education as a vital component of the community college mission. In particular, this text relates to the article Who Gets to Graduate from the New York Times that examined college success and how some students are automatically disadvantaged, and then looks at ways to overcome those obstacles. This text also examines that perspective, but in a way that is truly focused on the community college. There are certainly some strengths and weaknesses for this text as well. In regards to strengths, number one, it gives a very broad overview of the community college landscape, and it also delves very deeply into the multitude of influences that impact student learning. In some respects, that strength is also a weakness because in delving so deeply into that multitude of influences on student learning and on higher education, the authors seem to lose focus on their original premise that open access diminishes the quality of learning and is problematic for our society. Thus, in some respects, their argument becomes muddled at best. This weakness or limitation to the text diminishes its true value somewhat in the big picture. The key, then, for the text being applicable is to distill out the relevant and important ideas and to eliminate the extraneous ones. The text value in examining the community college access effect, particularly after the first 2 or 3 chapters, is modest at best. However, its underlying reminder for community colleges and for all of us who work there that need to keep our eye on the ball of student learning is one that resounds with readers and helps to remind us all of the reason we entered the field of education in the first place. And that perhaps is where the true value of the text will lie.